All right. My name is Kevin Ziegler. I'm the chair of the Council on Developmental Services. I'll call the meeting to order for Thursday, October 20th, 2022. It's 4:31 p.m. Just a reminder that this meeting is being recorded under Public Act 21-2, and this will be available under on the DDS website for all to view. So just keep that in mind. When you are communicating via membership or to the council, please remember to state your name so that folks who are listening to this via audio and maybe not video can understand the conversation or follow the conversation. So with that, I will call the meeting to order. And first item on our agenda is a moment of silence for individuals affected by COVID-19, please. Thank you. So next item on our agenda is the opportunity for public participation. If any member of the public would like to speak, you can have 3 minutes to address the council. If you wish to speak, please raise your hand. I see Donna just raised her hand. You'll have 3 minutes to speak, and please just state your name and welcome to the council.
Oh, thank you. My name's Donna Cohen, and I have a 30-year-old daughter with autism and an intellectual disability. And I'm pretty sure it was this meeting where somebody mentioned something last month and it just caught my ear and I'm trying to understand it. But if it wasn't this meeting, maybe somebody could explain it anyway. It was mentioned that Connecticut has like the 3rd most guardians in the country type thing. And I'm just trying to figure out, when I heard it, I thought, oh, yay, that's great that parents understand what their rights are and they want to keep connected, you know, just because I know at 21 we become guardians potentially, but it doesn't mean we're not parents anymore. So I thought that was a good thing, but I got the impression that maybe it wasn't a good thing in some way. So I'm just trying to understand the other side of that so I can understand what the issue is.
So I'd suggest either when Shannon goes through her ombudsman report that she has a perspective on it, as do I. And we haven't really talked it all out, so we may not even 100% agree, Shannon and I, but that wouldn't be the first time or the last. But we can cover it during her report, and I can give it a spin on mine. Okay, thanks so much.
Great. Are you all set, Donna? Do you have 2 more minutes left, or you good?
Well, actually, if I have 2 more minutes, then I am just going to mention I'm still trying to figure out why we don't have online applications for when I want to hire somebody. I think somebody was going to get back to me, but somehow it got lost in the shuffle. So if someone can just help me with that at some point, I'd really appreciate it.
Excellent. I see that the commissioner gave a thumbs up, so I'm sure we'll follow up and make sure that you have those forms.
Thanks so much. Well, they're not online. I'm
Right.
just trying to understand why they're not online, because I just have to hire somebody and literally it's 28 pages long, the application. And she's a little bit freaked out by that. And I have to admit, so am I. It's really overwhelming. So, yeah.
We'll look into it, or DDS will look into it and get back to you. I think that's what we'll go from there. Great. Any other member? Thank you for joining us. Any other member of the public wish to address the council at this time? Seeing none, I'll close the opportunity for public participation and move on to the next item on our agenda. So we have a new member. So we want to welcome Kelly Dorsey to the council as an official member. She was appointed by Governor Lamont, and her term expires October 18th, 2024, according to the appointment letter we received. So congratulations, Kelly, and welcome to the council. Kelly takes the previous position from Jamie, who served the council for many years. And Kelly, I don't know if you want to introduce yourself to the council and have a minute to just introduce yourself. Kelly?
Oh dear.
Did we lose you? Oh, she has on hold. I'm not sure what that means.
Isn't she just on the phone? Not.
No, she was on video.
I saw her. Yes. Come back, Kelly.
Could be stage fright, but she sounded like she wasn't someone who has stage fright.
So she probably just took another call.
Yep, we'll come back to her then. That's fine. If the council's okay with that. Next item on our agenda is the opportunity to review of and approval of the previous council meeting minutes. So you had the minutes forwarded to you from July 21st, 2022, and also July 15th, 2022. I believe the July one, there was a delay in getting them at our September meeting, if I recall. I wasn't at the meeting, but I believe that's what transpired. So you have 2 minutes to review and approve. So if folks are okay, I'll take a motion to approve the minutes as presented, unless there's any additions or corrections.
So moved.
Moved by Karen. Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Seconded by, I saw Rick raise his hand first. So seconded by Rick Rothstein. Is there any further discussion on the motion before us?
Just to clarify, this is Karen Levesque. Just to clarify, it's the meeting minutes of July 21st and the meeting minutes of September 15th. Is that correct?
Correct.
Correct.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify the motion. Thank you.
Yep. So we have a motion on the floor to approve the minutes as presented. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Chair votes aye. And just Joe, for the record, if I could abstain from the September 15th meeting, I wasn't there, unfortunately. So, but I will vote for the July 21st.
Thank you.
I don't think we need to break the motion up, but I think we can just note it in the minutes.
Yep.
All right, moving on. Next item on our
Well,
agenda.
Just a comment on the September 15th minutes, actually a couple. One is
Joe,
Karen Levesque's name was left off the list of people that are working on this review of investigations that we're undertaking.
Forgive me. What was the name I left off?
And so Karen was only with us at the beginning of the meeting, but she and I had had conversations previously, and she had indicated that she would serve if we did something like this. So we're
Okay.
glad to have her.
So I'll add Karen Levesque to the list of folks.
Yeah. And as the person who ran the meeting, I will. It did become unlike most of our meetings in that we had an extensive presentation by Krista, and it would have been nice if we could have captured some of her discussion in the minutes. Don't think it's critical from a legal perspective, but people may want to refer back to it with regard to the waiver conversation. So I'm not proposing that we change it, but just making a note for the record. That's all.
Thank you. And just, yep, no, thank you. And just a reminder to the public who are watching this that the videos are available for anyone to watch the meetings. So the full length video is available on the DDS website. So per state law.
Just a point, the September 15th video is not up yet. So, okay. But the others are there, and I'm sure the September 15th one will be up at some point. So.
Yep. All right, perfect. So we have the minutes approved. I did see Kelly jump back on the call. So Kelly, just wanted to let you know, congratulations on behalf of the council. Welcome. We look forward to working with you. And I don't know if you want to just take a minute just to introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Kelly Dorsey. I am currently a self-advocate coordinator for Mid-State ARC. And basically my goal here is to speak up for all the individuals, I guess. Thank you, Kevin.
Awesome. Thank you. And I think you're going to be a great asset to the council. We all look forward to working with you. So congratulations again. And we will move on to our agenda. If I could, I know that Shannon's here and she has another commitment. So if it's all right with the council and all right with the commissioner, if we could move the ombudsperson's report up on the agenda, just because she did put in a request that she has another commitment shortly. So if the council's okay with that, I would welcome the ombudsperson, Shannon Giacovino, to the meeting. Shannon.
Hi, this is Shannon Giacovino, the DDS ombudsperson. I sent my report out. I haven't heard back from anyone about any specific questions. So I guess before I get into other things, does anybody have any questions about the report that I sent out this month? Okay, so since there are no questions, I do want to let you know that I will be amending the report to add that I attended a conference sponsored by the Council on Developmental Disabilities. Connecticut has been selected to do a community of practice on bridging the gap between aging and disability networks. The council hosted a conference a couple of weeks ago, and it was fantastic. It was pulling together multiple state agencies and advocacy organizations that provide supports for seniors and for people with disabilities. And, you know, the goal is to try to pull together discussion, information, sharing, and to look for ways to just sort of build capacity across the system, you know, within the state's aging and disability networks. And so as the DDS representative to the DD Council, I'll continue to attend those meetings. And I think it's a really important and interesting thing. And I think it's great that Connecticut has been selected, you know, to try to establish, you know, a protocol for other states. So, so that's exciting. I also wanted to point out to people that I had a discussion with Dr. Cairns at Yale. That I think is very exciting. He's working on a proposal to Yale to create a center for older adults with intellectual and developmental disabilities. And he's reaching out to people in our community to get ideas and feedback. And so, you know, hopefully that's going to be something that's on the horizon. It's certainly something that's needed. And I think it's an exciting opportunity. And I know Dr. Cairns has a, you know, fantastic reputation in our community. So, so I thought that was exciting. I wanted to, you know, let you all know that ARPA discussions, you know, there's a ARPA initiative in DDS. Committees have been meeting for a couple of months now. All of those meetings are public. I want to pop the link in the chat to that section of the web page and just, you know, encourage people to go to those meetings. There's a lot of exciting discussions about creating more choice and opportunity for people. And I think it's an interesting and exciting time for us. And so I would encourage you to attend those meetings. I also wanted to point out that next Tuesday will be one of the fourth Tuesday forums. DDS has been hosting forums to educate all stakeholders on, you know, service options within the agency. I know for the foreseeable future into the coming year, DDS will continue to host these forums. Next Tuesday's forum will be on community companion homes. I think they're a great option for people, but an underutilized resource. And I would really encourage people to attend those. So I'm going to put links in the chat when I'm done talking to the ARPA section of the website that has schedules for all of the committees, minutes and videos of past meetings. And I will also put the link in for the fourth Tuesday forums and just ask you all to get the word out in the community. It's really important for individuals and families to have this information so that they can be good advocates for themselves and for their loved ones. And then I guess I'll go into Donna's question from there because I think it really is, you know, it fits nicely with that. So the reason that I've raised that issue, and I know that it's been raised by the council, I know Rick has talked about having someone come in. Advocates have been talking about the need to present alternatives to guardianship for families of individuals with IDD. Guardianship is something that is necessary for some people. It's not necessary or needed for all people with IDD. And I think it's important for us to be able to understand what alternatives are to guardianship. And it's important for parents and people in the community to understand what those alternatives are as well, so that they can make informed decisions. And so the discussion is really not around eliminating guardianship. it is like everything else, and being able to understand what all of the options are and deciding what's right for each and every individual, because everyone with IDD doesn't need a guardian, but some people do. And so that was why I raised it and why I continue to put that as an area of concern on my report.
Great. I don't see any questions for our ombudsperson. Rick Rothstein.
Just a comment, the person who will make that presentation has been on maternity leave. I thought would have surfaced by now, but she hasn't. So I will reach out to her and see when she's going to be back doing her thing. She's an attorney and has been working with the Bar Association on the whole supported decision-making thing, and she makes a very fair presentation. So I will reach out to her, and probably be January or February of next year. Before, since November and December are not our typical meetings.
Great, thank you, Rick. Adrian, I see you have your hand up. You have the floor.
Hello. Yes, Adrienne Benjamin, council member. You said the ARPA meetings are public, Shannon. Does that mean there's time for public participation in the beginning or time for questions, or we just observe the meeting that's taking place? I have several things. That's one thing.
Do you want me to answer that before you?
Yeah.
Sure. So no, the public is not allowed to speak at the meetings, but the public is allowed to attend the meetings. And I believe that there's been discussion around creating someplace for people to be able to submit their comments and to be able to, to give information. And obviously, I'm on both the advisory committee and I'm on the individual and family engagement committee. I'm one of the chairs of that committee. And if, there were issues or concerns or anything that people needed to express, you could always bring that to me. And I think I saw Joe typing something. So, he's putting the ARPA information in the chat.
And anyone who's at those meetings can email myself or Elisa Villardo or any of the people who are chairing the committees to share thoughts afterwards. Given the reason for the limited input is we have a very short timeline to get these things going, and the more expansive you make the conversation, the harder it is to reel in the time. So, but yeah, we welcome all the comments and feedback if you want to email them.
And every committee has families, self-advocates, people within DDS, and people from advocacy organizations. So every committee has representation from, various stakeholders.
Yeah. The other thing, I'm not sure if this is where to raise this, but I took Rick went to a meeting way over in, God, where was that? Wilton. So a group of family members who were part of something called FAP, Friends of Autistic People, something like that, had a meeting last week with several legislators to talk about all the issues that we all talk about all the time. And what was amazing to me, I mean, a lot happened at the meeting that I'm not going to go into, but what was amazing to me is meeting all these parents of young adults who have no idea that there's a RAC, no idea that there's these ARPA meetings, no idea. So it seems like the communication, I was really stunned. And I mean, some of them knew, but most of them didn't. And there were like 20 or so people there. And it seems like still there's a communication. Maybe there should be under the commissioner's report. I'm sorry. It's obviously not Shannon's responsibility to send emails to these families or something, because some of us are so plugged in. We know about all these things that are happening, but then there's this other group a large group of parents who really are not informed at all. It's quite and they're angry because they don't know what's going on. It's like, well, you can find out. Go to the websites. It was amazing. So, sorry, Shannon, that's not on your lap.
I wouldn't mind commenting on that. I'm surprised to hear that, actually, because I am part of that email discussion. And I know for my part, I've sent information out to that group on more than one occasion on many things that are happening. And I know that the people who run that group are very much aware that there is a RAC in that region. And when I worked for the ARC, our meetings down in Fairfield County, and a lot of those families were part of those meetings, were very well attended, talking about DDS service options. So it surprises me to hear that. But, you know, I guess we're not reaching everybody. And so part of the goal of the Individual and Family Engagement Committee on the ARPA initiative is to make sure that we're reaching people who aren't typically being reached.
Yeah, I mean, the leadership, of course, knew about these things, but there's people there that are very new to this world, to that group. So it wasn't every single person didn't know much, but the people that didn't know much, I was sort of stunned. So if we can get better, that would be great. That's the point.
All right. Adrian, you all set? Okay, perfect. Any other council member wish to address Shannon Giacovino as the ombudsperson? All right, seeing none, I'll close your report, and thank you once again for a nice comprehensive report. Keep up the great work. And we will move on to Commissioner Sheff for his report. Commissioner, welcome.
Hey, Jordan Sheff, Commissioner DDS. While I have it fresh in front of me, let me take some of the things that came up through the meeting, and then I can talk a little bit more, although Shannon and I must be covering a lot of the same space in terms of ARPA and things like that. So another perspective on guardianship, and Kelly, in your role as a SAC, if you after listening to me, you want to comment as well, I'd appreciate hearing your perspective if you have one, but not to put you on the spot. It's your first meeting, so you don't have to. When I came to Connecticut, I was surprised at how readily probate courts and families agree to presuming guardianship over individuals with intellectual disability. Having worked in other New England states, it's a much higher bar to obtain guardianship. And I wasn't certain why. And I just think it's a cultural thing. You know, the culture in Connecticut around guardianship traditionally, historically, has been different than those two other states. And I haven't rushed to address or try and fix it. It works for most people. I think from an individual who receives supports from us perspective, it's kind of like you may have heard individuals that we support talk about sub-minimum wage and being considered less than a whole person, right? You're a sub-minimum person if you earn sub-minimum wage. Likewise, presuming that guardianship belongs to somebody else and not yourself is just it takes away from a person's self-autonomy and an ability to be a whole person when someone else has decision-making authority for them. And as Shannon articulated clearly, for some people we support, it's a necessity. It's not even an option. For many of the people we support, a lot of whom have guardians, we believe there are people in the system who believe they have more than enough capacity and capability to make their own decisions for themselves, including medical decisions, including financial decisions. And the presumption that someone else should have to make those simply because they have intellectual disability just doesn't seem a fair starting point. Because people are reluctant to because there are some who feel that it would be going backwards to take away that type of thing. The concept of other alternatives to guardianship and conservatorship have been introduced by self-advocates and advocates within the community broadly across the country, and they continue to gain traction. Again, as Shannon said, not to eliminate guardianship, but to find another level of support of an individual that allows for informed decision-making, but doesn't take away a person's legal rights to be their own person. So when the question was asked during public comment, the culture when I monitor some of the online buzz in Facebook groups and other places, I will occasionally see conversation that says, what do I do about getting guardianship? And the conversation never seems to start with, does this individual need a guardian? And that's really where it should start. And if they do need a guardian, what's that threshold, and is there something below that threshold that could support and serve the same thing? The other advantage to supported decision-making over guardianship is it allows a family to help build a culture around the individual of people who will support them even after mom and dad are gone. So people who are helping be part of that supported decision-making can continue to support that individual, knowing what mom and dad and other family members and other people have input might have wanted for them without having to legally transfer their autonomy, their personal rights, to someone not even related to them, with the presumption that they can't make decisions on their own behalf through their lifetime. So I think there's some misunderstanding about what guardianship means, what it means to individuals with disability, what it means to parents and other loved ones who look to take that on, and what responsibilities go with that. And I think that's the conversation. And I'm forgetting her name, the attorney that sits on the North Region RAC who would do that presentation. And I don't know her married name. I met her. She was repping a family in her prior role as an attorney. And I think, Rick, she's quite eloquent and articulate and committed to the body of work that we are all committed to.
She gives a very fair presentation. And that comes from someone who's a great believer for most people that guardianship is the answer, but there are people that something else is appropriate. So Kathleen Hayes does a great job with that. And I hope she and the baby are doing well. And I will reach out to her in the next month and check to see when we can book something with her.
So thanks, Rick. And that was with regards to guardianship. Before I move on from that, Kelly, from a self-advocate coordinator perspective, is there anything you want to say? Or
I think Jordan's right on top of what he said about guardianship. I mean, it's very important. We always, in our self-advocacy meetings, we always make sure guardian is a main topic. We've actually had I don't know if you guys are from Wallingford, but there used to be a judge, William Wright, who actually came in and talked about laws of guardianship and what's it mean to be a guardian and stuff like that.
So thank you, Kelly. You're reminding me how much I've missed having Jamie at meetings, because it's always so helpful to have a self-advocate be able to speak. Adrian, you're muted.
Adrienne Benjamin, I thought that there were two levels of guardian. Like my daughter, who's obviously severe, is the plenary level, which is the full level of guardian.
Yeah.
There's another step down, people who don't need as much.
So there's plenary, there's limited, there's ad litem. So there's a number, and I don't know them all. We'll get that, I'm sure, from Kathleen. And I think now I'm remembering the name. It was Kathleen Tatro, now Kathleen Hayes. I'm sure we'll get a breakdown of that. There's also guardian of abode, fiscal, and there's also different levels, I believe, within conservatorship, but I'm not a lawyer. But when Kathleen comes, I'm sure that we can ask her, and she'll be right on top of all of that. But yeah, there are different levels. You're correct, Adrian. With regards to the online application, I don't know that we did the follow-up, Donna, that I thought we were going to do. There is an ARPA initiative, and we've already done an RFP and award for updating what's called rewarding work, which is the site many people recruit from for staffing for self-directed services. And I don't remember if in the application, in the RFP, it talked about an online application, but I don't think it's too late. And I think that they would appreciate, the connecting that to the fiscal intermediaries, may be something we need to do. So I don't know if Kevin's on the call yet, but Joe, if you can, Kevin is, Kevin Bronson. If you and Kevin can remind me to speak with Keith and Elisa and Peter about that, and then we can follow up with Donna before the next meeting and share it out at the next meeting, what I've learned. But the governor's intent is that we'll be paperless in government at some point. And I hope he is right. I was out at Lower Fairfield last week, and they're moving stuff to the state libraries that's been in storage because they need the space for other things. And the amount of paper we keep around forever is mind blowing. We can fill barges and float them in the oceans for years, and no one would ever ask for that paper, and we never have to go find the barge. But we would have it. We just have to locate the barge it's floating on. But no one's ever needed it. But we keep it forever. So, and Patty Silva, your hands up.
I'm going to apologize for the noise in the background. Bella's on the loose downstairs making her lunch. Patty Silva, council member. Just very quickly regarding guardianship, just wanted to share that Manny and I are both Bella's honorary guardians, but our two other kids, Liliana and Manny, are her standby guardians. So that's just another piece of that.
So let me just follow up on a couple other things. Shannon did meet with Dr. Cairns, as she indicated. I had met with him before that and was excited by the presentation and agree. Dr. Cairns' reputation in the community is stellar. His interest in this area is important. And so we will be meeting with them yet again, myself and Commissioner Porter from Aging and Disability Services. They're still figuring out their feasibility and needs assessment stage of this endeavor. So it's a little ways off, but we're excited because it's a much needed support and a resource for us. So a lot of my time, we're already getting ready for legislative season in the middle of election season. So a lot of my time in the last month, since the last time we met, has been spent working with the administration on their legislative priorities. We've already had some inquiries from legislators, so that season's gearing up and we're getting prepared for that. And I've spent a fair amount of my time doing that. I've also spent a fair amount of time, well, a few days in the last month touring some of our public facilities and saw really good things while I was out there. So I was really pleased, and I got to meet probably between the two visits, at least 6, maybe more brand new staff who had been on the job less than a month, who were excited to be there, shadowing very seasoned staff and learning the ropes before they're permanently deployed onto some of our vacant second and third shifts. I think the workforce crisis is real, real for all over. It doesn't matter. DDS, any business, right? Ice cream places closing early because they don't have people to scoop ice cream. You know, the workforce crisis is everywhere. But I'm hoping we're starting to see some things level off for us. And I've heard from some providers it's gotten better. Some providers it's stopped getting worse, and we have a few providers who have not seen much relief at all. So it's sort of split across the provider community based on the feedback that I get. But we'll continue to work to try and make those things make the workforce crisis better for everybody in time. And I don't have much else to report, frankly. We've been spending, let me share, one of the folks you've met in the past was not available, or Amber was not available to attend one of our SELN, Supported Employment Leadership Network conference. One of the people who works underneath her, a gentleman named Daryl, was able to go, and he came back. He asked a lot of hard questions while he was there, probably questions other people were thinking but afraid to ask, and he got recognized for that. So Daryl did a great job and came back with a lot of information about how we might continue to move forward our initiatives around supported employment. And so just wanted to brag a little bit about being able to send someone down to Virginia for that for the first time in years because of COVID, and to have them come back, one, Connecticut being recognized, him being recognized, and then just a lot of good ideas about what we can do to try and move the system forward for people, for all the people in our system who are interested in employment, regardless of their lawn, regardless of their living situation, regardless of their funding. We like employment for anyone who wants it. And that's what I have for notes. So I'll come up for air there. If there are any questions, I'd be happy to field them. And if not, I can wrap up.
Hey, Jordan, where's that conference at? You gotta send me that link, so I know individuals that would love to do that.
So this was for people. So it's part of our NASD's engagement, the National Association for State Developmental Disability Directors. A subgroup of that is a project we call SELN, SELN, Supported Employment Leadership Network. And Kelly, you don't have to write it down. We'll bump out some links. We only send one person a year, and but there might be opportunities for self-advocates, because that's one of the things that, to be quite honest, that Daryl in Connecticut were recognized for, is the self-advocate coordinators that DDS employs directly. That doesn't happen everywhere. And the fact that we do that here in Connecticut gets some recognition. And as you all know, I rely on my self-advocate coordinators quite a bit. But it might be something next year that Daryl would want to take. And I'm not sure among our we call our self-advocate coordinators SACs. They like it, so I'll go with it. In each of the SACs for the state has a different area of focus, and one of them is focused on employment. At least one of them is focused on employment. So it may be that if Daryl went again next year, that that individual could go with Daryl and their support staff if they need it to that. It's in Alexandria, Virginia, or Old Town, Virginia, depending on the year. And if you haven't been to Old Town, Virginia, it's a great place to visit.
Yeah.
No, the reason why I
Oh.
said that, my sister's from Virginia, so that'd be
Oh,
awesome.
really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I went with Varian Salters, and I did a presentation on self-advocacy and self-determination at the Medicaid, the annual Medicaid conference, which is different than the NASD's conference. It met the 2 days prior to the NASD's conference, so he and I went down early with his mom, and we did a presentation. It was actually, we were the opening. In the opening day, we were pretty happy to do that. And then I went on to the NASD's conference, and he visited DC and came home. And I should just mention, speaking of SACs, James Louchin, and I don't know how many of you know James. He retired, and I told him it must be because Bo retired, because he's strong. His focus area has been fitness and health as a SAC. And he's strongly affiliated with the Special Olympics, started walking groups, other fitness groups, outdoors clubs. I don't know if he was one of our original self-advocate coordinators, but he's been with us for a number of years, and he's gone on to retire. So I virtually attended his last SAC meeting at Harkness, which was a really nice event that they do anyway, and they took some time to really honor James. So just as an FYI, he's no longer in the SAC for officially. I'm sure he'll continue to participate because he can't help himself. Any other questions? All right.
Thank you, Commissioner Chef, for your report. Moving on to our agenda, we have an update on the efforts to thank Bo Doherty. So appropriately, nice lead in there. So we did get the proclamation from the governor, and we are in the process of connecting with Bo and finding out what his schedule is like to either have a special gathering virtually or in person of the council. I guess the question is how do we want to present this proclamation to him? And I want to thank Patty Sylvia for all her efforts on this. So we are in good shape. It's just a matter of when does the council feel that there's an appropriate time or place for this to be done. We do have an upcoming meeting on November 16th. That is a joint meeting with the RACs. That might be a good time to do because it's statewide, and a lot of the RACs obviously know Special Olympics and participate in it. So I don't know if we can carve out maybe 5 minutes to do that at that meeting, or we can usually have a business meeting after the RAC meeting on the same night. So maybe folks would want to see that presentation and just us, instead of just us giving it to him. So thoughts on any suggestions? We want to do it. I see, Commissioner, you have your hand up.
I apologize. I was multitasking. Was one of the options to do it when on the joint RAC and council meeting? Yeah, I would support that. It would create even more visibility.
Yes. I see a lot of heads shaking. Is that a consensus of the group? I see Patty, you have your hand
Yes.
up. Is there anything you wanted? to mention?
I agree. I agree with Jordan. I think that would be a good idea to do it.
Why don't we? Perfect. Why don't I'll work with Patty. We'll reach out to Bo. We'll see if he's available that night on the 16th. We'll have him join first thing on the agenda, and maybe we can take 5 minutes as a council and also as all the racks to thank him for his efforts in Special Olympics for all the folks.
Kevin, if I may interrupt you just for a brief moment, Joe Carvalho, DDS. I just wanted to make everyone aware that despite at the bottom of the agenda, it's saying that the joint council meeting with the racks is going to begin at 5 o'clock. It's actually going to begin at 6 p.m.
Okay.
That's the time that we had agreed upon last year at the end of that meeting then. I know that we typically meet at 4:30. So I just wanted to clarify that. Notice will be sent out to the racks and also to our DS Council membership to that end. But I wanted just to say that quickly for everyone's awareness. So when you reach out to Bo, let him know that the meeting will start at 6.
Perfect. Thank you, Joe. Perfect.
And it's Wednesday instead of Thursday, right?
Correct.
That is
It's
correct.
Wednesday,
Yep.
November 16th.
Okay, so that's the other thing that's totally different for us, right?
Yep.
So-
Yes, that's correct. That was set on our
Okay.
annual calendar at the beginning of this year.
Okay, okay.
Anything else for this discussion? Otherwise, I have consensus, and I'll work with Patty to reach out to Bo, and we'll figure out how to honor him collectively. Perfect. All right, moving on our agenda. Next item is a report / update, if you will, from the Subcommittee on Abuse and Neglect. I believe Rick and I'm not sure who's chairing it. I wasn't at the meeting. In
We
September.
don't have a chair. Excuse Rick
Okay.
Rothstein, member of the council. We don't have a chair.
Okay.
It's more informal than that. And the group has had 2 meetings so far, and they've been very interesting and very stimulating. I think we're all learning more about how it works and issues with how it works and good things about how it works. And we are trying to identify things that can be fixed in very short order that don't require anything other than perhaps some improved communication and things like that, to things that would be much more intensive and more difficult. And we don't pretend to have answers right now. We're just looking primarily at what are the issues and brainstorming some ideas about what kind of approaches might be helpful. More principles than actual solutions. Anyone else who's serving, welcome to attend. We are very thankful that Shannon joined us for our 2nd meeting, and we've invited her to our 3rd meeting, which is next Tuesday. Our next meeting, we are inviting Disability Rights Connecticut to attend, and they have a statutory role on a limited basis, at least in the abuse and neglect function, and we think we'd like to know what they have seen. Do they have reports? Have they seen issues, and do they have things that might help our thought process? So we think that's the next step, and we'll probably continue to meet weekly until we're able to solidify something that we can bring to the commissioner and to the council. So it's not an easy process, and we are hearing from some folks who are not on the council, who are not in the meetings, and that sort of anecdotally have found us, and any input from anyone is certainly important, and we will continue to seek that out or accept that as it goes along, not necessarily have an open session and just let anyone come. But if someone has concerns, certainly we want to hear what they are, and if it works, we want to know if it worked for them. So I guess that's where we're at. Very interesting. Reading all sorts of things that I never thought I would be reading. And I think we're making progress.
Great, thank you. And thank you to the members of the committee, the subcommittee for doing this. Is there any other comments or concerns about this item? Seems like the ship's moving in the right direction, or there's a process in place. So Adrian, I see you have your hand raised.
Well, I just, all of us have our circle of friends and family who are in the IDD world. So if anybody does know of someone who's gone through an investigation process, I mean, I've talked to a few people who I know, and Rick put a very nice positive spin on it. The stories I've heard are actually not the least bit positive, unfortunately. But we want to improve it. The whole point of this is to improve things. So, but if anybody through your circles knows of someone who's gone through an abuse and neglect situation, whether it was substantiated or not, whatever happened over the years, give us some input and we can try to contact them and get their. So we're dealing with like aggregate information from Shannon and then individual anecdotes. And we talked also about having Kendra come back. Kendra spoke at one of our council meetings maybe a year and a half ago, but having her come to our committee also and give, because I think she's in charge of the investigation arm of DDS, I do believe, unless that's changed. So yeah, we have a lot to work on, and I appreciate that the council's decided to do this. We've got Patty, Karen, Rick, myself, Kevin, and Shannon as a guest.
Yeah. Just wanted to add that we are very appreciative of Shannon's input, and we know every month. We knew she was a power player when she came in, and we are very happy that she's participating and is giving us insight that only she could give, because she hears from families and tries to work things out, and that's the only way we'd get that information. So do want to recognize her for that.
Great. Sounds like the committee's working well, and I see Christine, you have your hand up.
Sorry, trying to unmute on this other computer.
There you go.
Christine Hainsworth Strauss, council member. Is there a particular person you want someone to contact on this subcommittee to share information? I don't know anybody offhand, but I'm going to put it out there. And is there a time that you guys meet?
So we've been, the subcommittee so far has been meeting Tuesdays at 9:30 via Zoom. Rick has been offering the Zoom link and taking care of that for us. So I would say that if you want to email Rick, and if you want to CC me, Adrian, and you can CC the entire committee realistically, until we establish a formal chair or a formal process within the committee. I think right now we're just meeting with folks and getting information and collecting our thoughts collectively to bring back to the council and the commissioner.
Okay, thank you.
Rick Rothstein, a member of the council. Christine, if someone wants to call me, that is fine too. I've had a couple of interviews from people who have called, and it is more alive, so to speak, when you have a conversation with someone and you can ask them questions and they can go through their experience. So as I said to someone who called me last night, I'm retired, so I'm around, and my son is generally in good hands, so I'm not running over there to do things. So any way that fits best for the person, that would be great.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Any other questions on this topic? Or are we good with it for this month? Seeing no hands raised, I think that's a legacy hand, Rick, right? Yep. So moving on, next item on our agenda is topics for our future meetings. So I just wanted to give the council a heads up that our annual meeting is in December. And next month, after our RAC or during our RAC meeting, we usually adjourn the RAC meeting and have a council meeting. We will need to establish a nomination committee for officers for the council for the upcoming year. December 15th, I believe, is the annual meeting per our calendar, if I remember correctly. And at that meeting, the nomination committee will report back, and we will elect a chair, vice chair, secretary, and treasurer, not treasurer, a chair and a vice chair and a secretary. Unless we get money from DDS, and we'll have a treasurer, but we don't have any funds as a council, and we really don't need any. But so I just wanted to let folks just give a friendly reminder that that process will begin. So if folks are interested in serving on the nomination committee, please let me know, so that we can get that set up for November so that they can meet and figure out next steps for the next leadership for next year's council that runs January 1st through December 31st of next year. So that's one item I wanted to bring up, just to remind everyone. We already talked about the joint meeting that is happening on November 16th at 6 p.m. With the RACs. So we will provide just a quick update of what we've been talking about, and each RAC goes around the room and talks about that. We'll also see about Bo Doherty joining us for that as well, for a citation. Are there other topics that, and of course, Rick has a topic that we're going to wait until next year for the attorney to join us. But is there other topics that individuals from the council would like to see this council address in the near future? I see, Christine, you have your hand up. Go ahead.
Yes, sorry. So I'm sorry. Phone calls distracting. Hold on, I'm gonna have to remove this. It's a robocall from Allied Community Resources. I guess somebody's gonna be paid. Yay. I'm sorry, there's no way for me to get rid of it except to mute. I guess it'd be interesting to see if during this time, and during especially with ARPA funding, if there's anything that comes out of that, to see if there are any additional types of employment that come forward. From Allied Community Resources. That could come from different agencies.
Sure. And we'll come back to you because I know that you have your voicemail going. So Karen, I see you have your hand up. Karen, then we'll go back to Christine.
Thank you, Kevin. Karen Levesque from the council. I'm wondering if we have any ideas forthcoming for legislative suggestions from the department.
Okay. Good topic. Well, I'm sure Kevin Bronson and his team will be getting a list of priorities after the elections. So we'll figure that out as a group. And Christine, did you have anything else? Is your
no, I'm sorry. I wasn't sure if that was clear. What I was asking was, I'm sure there are other types of employment that must be coming out, or innovative ideas that are coming out that have continued to come out since originally talked about. I don't know if that's something to potentially talk about maybe in January or earlier, because we're still trying to find lots of employments returning. There's a huge need.
I think maybe inviting Daryl and Elisa and some people from that team, or because there's a lot of work going on around employment. But I should mention, not to anyone specifically, but there was an announcement, and I don't know how they're made because of the way things are bid on, but for those innovative employment opportunity grants that we did a few years back out of IDASH funding, those were announced again, I believe.
You are correct. Yep. That went out to all the providers and through DDS, yes. And I think applications are due November 4th or 3rd next week sometime, or 2 weeks. So
10th.
Glad you're on top of it, Kevin.
10th, Kevin, 10th, not the 4th.
Yep. Oh, it's the 10th. Sorry. Yes. I have the ARC conference coming up, and so that's why I was making sure that I get my dates down. Right. Correct.
Just wanted you to know that I was paying attention.
Perfect. Excellent. Any other topics? I see Patty, you have your hand up. Go ahead. Floor is yours.
Just really quick question. What are the innovative employment grants? Is there a quick explanation for that?
A quick explanation, and Kevin and Joe will send you a link to the website. At the beginning of prior to COVID, we I think it was a pool of around $500,000 that we offered out as grants. I don't remember the original amount, and I'm not exactly sure what we're offering now. And they ranged from very small ticket items to bigger ticket items that allow people to try and explore different business opportunities or employment opportunities. So some of that money went to a young lady who makes stress balls. She's very open about her story and recovery from PTSD on top of her intellectual disability, and we were able to afford her a grant. She makes stress balls, and she donates the proceeds of those to charitable organizations, and she sells a lot of them. I think Hark had a business that we supported with a chunk of money that was a more formal forward-facing business. And what we can do, Patty, is give you a little bit of idea about what I think there were probably 15 or 20 awards 5 years ago. But we can give you an idea of the types of business opportunities that we made awards to. We used someone from one of the colleges as to look at review and score business plans that were submitted to determine who we would issue funding to based on the viability of the business. One of them was a DJ. The funding helped purchase DJ equipment, and he is now DJing, and he's self-employed and does his dances and other events. So there was a pretty broad range of them. I don't remember all of them, but we can get you a link and give you some updates on that. But it's a pretty neat way to get things going.
Any other?
Kevin Bronson, DDS. I just want to follow up on that, Patty, because I'm literally in the process right now of working with the Employment and Day Services division to update their portion of the website, and it's almost done. And then my actual goal is to get it done tomorrow, but I'm waiting on 1 or 2 more things, so it might not be fully done tomorrow. But all of this information should be up there. It's something that a lot of people are asking about.
Great. Other questions or topics from folks? All right, seeing none, I will take a motion to adjourn until our joint meeting on November 16th at 6 p.m. with the RACs. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Moved by Karen. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Patty.
Don't forget to vote, everybody.
Yes. Before we adjourn, yes, please remember election day is November 8th. And please encourage everyone to vote and make sure their voices are heard across the state. So good luck to all the candidates. We'll leave it at that. So, all right. So we have a motion on the floor, seconded by Patty. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Anyone opposed?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. We are adjourned to November 16th at 6 p.m. for the joint meeting with the RAC. Have a great night, everyone. Thank you for joining us.
Good one,
Thank you.
everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.